Me, I will tell you in chat. Thanks for joining me, guys. Thanks for waiting. It's Saturday Baseball. I have troubles. I'm using my old headphones again because I couldn't figure out my beats. And it was perfectly fine right before I started the show. So, anyway, hi, Leonard. George is here. Wait, George, you're supposed to work on Saturdays, but I'm really glad to see you. So, thanks for coming. Let's get right into it. We're running late. The rainy weather. It's raining here in New York. Maybe that's why George is not at work today. He works at a golf course. So rainy weather. Milwaukee at Washington, 2 o'clock, 73% chance of rain. At 3 o'clock, there's a 69% chance of rain. And at 4 o'clock, there is a 65% chance of rain. So that one is almost guaranteed to be rained out. Then you have Miami at Boston, 4:10 p.m. It's 54% at 4, and then 48% at 5, and 32% at 6. So I would not be putting any of those players in DFS too, if that's the case. And Atlanta at the Mets. We have two. I think there was supposed to be a doubleheader today. Anyways, God, the Mets have had 10 postponed or suspended games already this season. At 7:15 tonight, it's 65% chance of rain. At 8:15, it'll be a 59% chance of rain, and then a 50% chance of rain at 9:15. So you do have some domes that you could always be safe with the domes at Seattle. So you have Texas at Seattle, St. Louis at Arizona, San Diego at Houston, and Philly at Tampa. So stay away from the rain. It's never fun when you pick your team and then all of a sudden, like, you find out later that half your players didn't play. We have the USA Olympics team put together. There's some good names on there. The first game will be May 31st versus Nicaragua. The USA Olympic team is Homer Bailey, Matt Kemp, Edwin Jackson, Todd Frazier, Anthony Ghost, Matt Wieters. And you have a couple of prospects, which is interesting. Jarren Duran is on there, Red Sox Jarren Duran, and then Tristan Casas, and the manager is Mike Scioscia. So that'll be fun. Now let's get right into some injuries, updates. We have Bellinger coming back today. There's been so many. Let me tell you. I have this in the league notes, but I'll tell you now that injury list placements are up 30% now compared to 2019. And this doesn't even include the COVID list. Can you guys hear me? I want to make sure. Say yes, you can in the chat. So hi, Matt Hooper, Jamie Gates, nice to see you. And Douglas, good. Where's Malpal? He ditched us. I hope he'll come back. We'll see. Yeah, so it's up 30%. And last time, last, I don't know, maybe a week ago or 2 weeks ago, we were talking about this, and we really came to the conclusion that it hadn't been long enough into the season to really say whether or not it was just a fluke or if it was really going to, like, that's where it's going to, be for. Okay, good. All right. Thanks, Douglas. It's crazy, though. The number of IL stints is unbelievable. So it's not just me with like 10 players injured. I understand that. It's not just me. I feel bad for everybody with this problem. There's been 422 players placed on the injury list so far this season. There was only 563 total in all of 2019. So I'm not talking about the 60-game season we had last year. I'm talking about the entire 2019. There was 563 players put on the injured list. Right now, there's 422 so far, and we're like a third of the way through the season. It's crazy. It's up 30%. So we'll get back to that topic in a second. But for more injury news, Marco Gonzalez, pitcher, Seattle, he'll be coming back on Tuesday, I believe, to start. But he's not going to – they said his innings are going to be limited. So normally I wouldn't recommend leaving anybody on the bench if you can put them in active. But in this case, I probably wouldn't even bother with him the first – if you have someone else. Austin Nola's back injured. Noah Syndergaard, you guys already know. I mean, this is these are not all just this day. I just thought these were the most interesting ones. I mean, we've been talking about Noah Syndergaard. I've been pushing him like the last couple of weeks, saying he's like so close to being ready to come back. He's not going to even pick up a baseball for at least 4 to 6 weeks. And Danny Duffy, same type of thing. Like Danny Duffy is barely even rosterable in a 12-team league, even when he's healthy. So the fact that we have no clue how long it's going to be. Usually, like he's got a forearm flexor strain, which could be a precursor to Tommy John. He's already had Tommy John and all of this. Anyway, don't even bother if you have him on your team. He's not even worth an injury spot at this point. Aaron Hicks out for the season. No surprise there. Mike Soroka, though, we were kind of just wondering if he was going to be able to come back. First, he had an Achilles injury, had surgery on that. Then he was working his way back, and all of a sudden they had to go back in there and do exploratory surgery to find out what was wrong with his insides. They basically went in there to see what they left behind. Just kidding. He's out for the season. So Brian Snitker was on high heat yesterday. He said for sure that he's out for the year. Hopefully we'll get him back next year. That's not really positive, but I think, should be all right. We'll talk about that next year. Bryce Harper, of course, has been out. Now he's on the injured list, but I just wanted to bring this up because I think it's interesting that Joe Girardi was asked like over and over and over by the reporters, is there anything wrong with Bryce Harper? He was, in the past 7 days, he was 0 for 5. I mean, and if you go back 14 days, it's pretty much the same stuff, just been horrible. Striking out all the time, like in 5 at-bats, he struck out 3 times. Last 2 weeks, he was 2 for 26. He was batting .080 with a 115 on base percentage, 1 walk, and 13 strikeouts in 2 weeks. Obviously, something is not normal here. This isn't just like, Bryce Harper's having a bad day. This is like a consistent problem. Girardi admits that he did not tell the truth to reporters asking about his health. So first of all, the manager's only allowed to tell reporters so much about someone's health. They could tell them baseball-related injuries only. So don't always assume that you're getting the full picture from a manager. You guaranteed you're not. But, a lot of people think, well, if I hear it from the manager, then it's got to be the truth. Yeah, that's not really the case because there's HIPAA laws too. And so there's lots of stuff going on with health. But anyway, Girardi admits that he didn't tell the truth. He says that it's a competitive advantage not to tell the reporters things before the game and he said, I'm not going to share details on any player availability before the game. So I don't want it to be spilled out all over the media so that the other teams know what my lineup is going to be. And until the batting order comes out for that game, he's not going to be talking about any players. I think a lot of managers do that. But anyway, JT Realmuto is back. That's always good. He's been sparking a lot of you find his name popping up all over the place when talking about the sticky substances. It seems like he's always like front and center. Either that or everybody's just quoting the same article from The Athletic. But I do think I read something new today because of the drama that happened with Mike Schilt and who was the pitcher that Gallegos? Giovanni? I can't remember. I think it is. Joe West comes out and he says, you got to take your hat and go trade it in. Normally, we don't hear anything about the sticky substances, which is why they have a hard time enforcing the rule because I thought that it had to be the manager that comes out and says something to the umpire before they're going to do anything about it, unless it's like blatant. And then they'll say something like when Michael Pineda came out a few years ago and he had, big black oil on his neck. And so that was like, obvious, so the umpire did say something. But normally the umpire doesn't say anything. Maybe they thought they saw something, but anyway, they said you have to go change your hat. So here comes Mike Schilt out of the dugout, and he's got his hat in his hand. He's ready to give his pitcher his hat, which, I mean, I like him a lot. I mean, everybody, the Cardinals are just they're a team that you aspire to be like. And it seems like they know what they're doing in the management department. So anyway, I like this guy. I listened to what he had to say after because he got kicked out of the game immediately upon walking out to the mound, and he had a lot to say. In fact, I'm going to share with you what he had to say in just a couple minutes, but let's get through the injuries. Trevor Story was removed from game 2 on Thursday, doubleheader, and because he has arm tightness. He's out for game 1 today. We don't know for sure if he will be cleared to play tonight. So keep an eye out for that. Arm tightness, whatever that means. What's arm tightness? Hi, Malpal, Eddie Heckman. Yay. You didn't miss anything. Just me trying to get my sound right. Okay, player notes. These are player notes. Buster Posey now has 10 home runs in 34 games played this season. That's 3 more home runs than he's hit in the first 34 games of any season in his career. Buster Posey, we think he's all, he didn't play last year, so maybe he's just happy to be back. I know he's got twins at home. Chris Bryant has a 10-game hitting streak. This guy is going to get traded, in my opinion. That's the longest hitting streak for a Cubby since July of 2019 when Rizzo did it. He had 13-game hit streak. Chris Bryant, the best part about Chris Bryant is the fact that he has started at least 5 games at 5 different positions this season. Okay? Nobody thinks of Chris Davis or Chris Bryant like that. Chris Davis. We don't think about Chris Davis at all anyway, so let's not go there. But okay, Chris Bryant, 5 games at first base, 14 games at third base, 11 in left field, 5 at center, and 11 at right. So basically 3 positions if you're talking about just outfield being 1 position. But how nice is that? Chris Bryant having an excellent season. What a great find for him. And you know who else is being a great buy right now is Yuli Gurriel. He's really coming around. You got him free basically in drafts. So Walker Buehler has faced 153 Giants batters in his career. 153 San Francisco Giants batters he's faced. And guess who is the only hitter to hit a home run off of him? The only San Francisco Giants batter to get a home run off of Walker Buehler. That's the genius of the day. And you guys, I'll come back to it. Don't let me forget to come back to it because I always forget to tell the answers. But yeah, there's an autographed Lenny Melnick baseball for a prize. It's true. He ranks 4th in the majors in OPS. Chris Bryant having a good year. Okay, Tommy Pham hit 3rd home run yesterday. I know he's been having a horrible season so far, but that's 3 straight multi-hit games for Tommy Pham. If somebody dropped him, which I wouldn't doubt if they did because I wouldn't be surprised. He was horrible. He's been batting, but in the last 9 games, 279 with a 446 on base percentage and 2 home runs in the last 9 games. He only has 3 home runs on the season, so go snag him up if you can. Framber Valdez made his debut. Everybody's been waiting for him. So, but if you only get to pick up players once a week, he might still be available. Obviously, his innings are restricted for this moment. He allowed 1 run, 2 hits, and walked 2. He struck out 4 over 4 innings. I mean, because you're waiting for a guy like this to come back, so he's good pitcher. He's a decent pitcher. He's a little above average pitcher. He's not anything great. He's not going to be an ace, but it's kind of like when there aren't very many good free agents, then the free agents that are out there available all of a sudden are being talked about like they're this great thing. And Framber is okay. He's going to strike out a lot of batters, but I don't know. Don't expect him to be Garrett Cole or anything. Anyway, he will be in the rotation now. He used all of his pitches yesterday, threw his sinker a lot, his curveball, 72 pitches, 40 of them were strikes, 72 pitches in 4 innings. That's, better than Lamet. Okay, Lamet is I don't even know what to do with Lamet. I think he's good pitcher, obviously, but what do you do when I was excited because I thought Lamet was going to start qualifying at relief pitcher. He only really technically pitched in relief twice so far. But technically, if you want to be technical about it, he has been pitching relief all year pretty much. So some spammer. Anyway, Lamet's another story. I don't know. I would love to be able to put him in as a reliever. I'm not really sure, but I'm determined to get there. Hopefully that will happen. And then I don't care if he only pitches 2 or 3 innings. I'm super excited about that because he's going to strike out 5 in that process. He will get wins. And I do think they are ramping him up to start pitching more innings as we go. So hold tight with the Nelson Lamet. Unless you are Matt Hooper and you already gave up on him, like, I don't blame you if you did, because you have no injured spots allowed in this league. Okay, team notes. The Phillies. We talked about the strikeout differential. It's as important as the run differential. I just learned about it this year. I would love to give credit where credit is due here. I think it was Michael Salfino, but somebody in the industry, and learned that, pay attention to the strikeout differential, because unlike the run differential, which will even itself out it will stabilize over time. But the things that we know that stabilize the quickest in baseball are the strikeout and the walk rate of hitters. So if you see a team like the Phillies, who were leading the National League East just a couple weeks ago, we talked about that. I think that he wrote this article based on the fact that it was about the Mets, that the Mets had a good chance of winning, even though they were in second to last place in the division at the time. The Phillies were in first. Anyway, the Mets have a great strikeout differential, meaning that they're not striking out as much as they're striking out their opposing team. So the Phillies they reached their 480th strikeout. That's 10.25 on average every game this season. So they have a 27.6% strikeout rate as a team. They rank only second to Tampa Bay. Obviously, they have more strikeouts than any other team in the National League. And they already have as many strikeouts on the season as they did all of 2020. That's 40. It's 47 games it took them to get there. 2020 was obviously 60 games. So last year, though, they had the 7th fewest strikeouts last year, the Phillies. What happened? Their team is the same, almost. A lot of their team is the same. Anyway, I mean, they have Rhys Hoskins is still there. Alec Manoa is still there. Bryce Harper is still there. But these are the 3 that have a serious strikeout percentage problem. I'm going to give Bryce Harper a pass because I think he's been hurt for a while. But, okay. Rhys Hoskins, 28% strikeout rate. Still, he's worth having on your team because he smacks the ball around. But his strikeout rate is up 4.8% from last year. Alec Manoa is striking out 28% of the time. It's up 8% from last year. Alec Manoa up 8% strikeout percentage. Bryce Harper is only up less than 1%. So he's still striking out 27.8% of the time, but usually you don't really notice because he's, again, the type of hitter that does other things enough to make up so you don't notice as bad. Now, in 2008, the average fastball on 2 strikes was 89.1 miles per hour. Now, the average fastball on 2 strikes is 94.4 miles per hour. Think of that. It's over 5 miles an hour difference that it's increased. We know that obviously all over baseball, the strikeouts are up and the hitting is down. We're going there in a second. One sec. I want to show you guys what Mike Schott was saying. So let me go back to where we were. The Padres, they scored 7 runs in the top of the 11th yesterday. What a game. And not only, first of all, obviously, if you're in the 11th inning, the game is tied. The Padres, I think it was 3-3, the tied game. I remember I texted Malpel. I'm like, whoa, just go Padres. Like, they're just crazy and they're so happy and they're having such a good time. And they do not care what the unwritten rules are about not scoring when your feelings are hurt, because that's the way it should be. Baseball has been, it's not a game that is based on time. It's a game that's based on innings. So it doesn't matter how long it takes. You still have this many outs. You still have this many, opportunities. If you have 2 strikes, 2 outs, you still have an opportunity to win the game. I don't care. So to think that a team should not be stealing bases or they should not be playing to their full potential just because they're ahead by a certain number of runs is not just, I don't know. I think it's crazy. It's a crazy thought to expect any competitive mind to just stop. I really, if I was a manager, I would be so annoyed if my team just was trying to be respectful to the poor other team, because we don't want to hurt their feelings, and like, they can catch up. That's the truth. They can catch up. So look, I love the Padres for that. They're super fun to watch. Youngsters just having a great time. And a couple of veterans too. I mean, Hosmer is there. And I mean, I think that they're just a fun team to watch. And they're going to probably win the World Series this year, in my opinion. All right. So they scored 7 runs in the top of the 11th. That's the most runs in an extra inning since they did it on the very exact same day in 1995, May 28th. They scored 11 runs or 7 runs in extra innings. Same day, May 28th, 1995. The Diamondbacks, on the other hand, they lost their 12th in a row. It's just horrible. Teams are calling them, asking them which players are up for sale, which players are available for trading before the trade deadline, which is coming up maybe I think it's 2 months still for the trade deadline. But regardless, teams are calling up the Arizona Diamondbacks saying, what can we get? On Thursday, the Cubbies won on a solo home run for the first time since 2018, and then they turned around and did it again last night. 2 in a row, they won on a solo home run. Now they're 28-22. I don't know what they're going to do come trade deadline, because they're actually above 500. They're having a decent season. They've won 5 consecutive games. They've won 10 out of their last 12, and their bullpen hasn't allowed any runs in 38 innings, which is a record that basically hasn't been done in 50 years. 38 innings, the bullpen, 0 runs. The Reds, they've stolen, listen to this one. Okay, the Padres are in this conversation too. The Reds have stolen 10 bases in 21 attempts. Think of that. It's a horrible, horrible success rate. 48%. They've been successful 10 times. They've attempted 21 times. They're just bad. So their success rate is the last in the league. But you just don't see as many stolen bases anymore. Obviously, teams just don't want to risk the out, because they know that, well, they used to know that they could probably, the next guy would have a better, anyway, it's too much of a risk, stealing bases. The Padres, they've been caught 15 times, but they also lead the major leagues with 58 successful steals. So on one hand, you have the Cincinnati Reds, who I was blaming everything on their defense, and come to find out is they're not the worst defense in baseball, even though they just look clumsy a lot of the time. Maybe I'm just annoyed at them because Moustakas is hurt and Luis Castillo is horrible this year, but it's not their defense. It might be some defense, but it's not all their defense. Obviously, they can't steal bases very good, but the Padres have stolen 58 successful. That means they've attempted 58 plus 15. They've been caught 15 times. So what? When you're stealing 58, that's not a horrible success rate. The Mariners, don't bet against the Mariners when they're down by a run or up by a run. They are 11-5 in 1-run games this season. That is a .688 winning percentage. It's the best in baseball. So let's talk about these teams for a second and what the Fangraphs projections are saying after now. how many games? 50, let's just say about 50 games for each team. 52, maybe 53 total. So who's going to make the playoffs in each division? The Rays have a 77.5% chance of making the playoffs. The Red Sox have a 66.9% chance of making the playoffs. The Blue Jays have 45% chance, and the Yankees only have a 42.5% chance of making the playoffs. Now, this is just based on what has happened so far. The Rays are 96 and 65. Well, that's the projected based on what they're doing now. Right now, they're 32 and 20. The Rays are better than advertised, and they're always like right there. Okay, and when it comes time for the playoffs, the Rays are always right there. But remember what we talked about just a few minutes ago? The freaking strikeout, differential. The strikeout differential. I told you that the Phillies are only second in strikeouts to one team. That's the Tampa Bay Rays. That means that the Tampa Bay Rays have struck out more times than the Phillies. And just because right now they're at the top of their game, I wouldn't expect it to be like that throughout the season. If they keep continuing to strike out this much, it's not going to happen. I don't even think it's going to be the Red Sox. I believe personally that the Blue Jays are going to win the American League East. And I would be willing to bet like some beer or something. I don't know. I just think they're so good. And they are like, ever since I dropped Lourdes Gurriel, he's hitting now. Just to let you know, he's hitting like crazy. American League Central, the White Sox, they are the number one. I mean, if you look at the odds right now, I would guarantee that the White Sox odds are the highest to win the World Series. They have a 92% chance of making the playoffs. I know that a lot of people do not like Mr. La Russa. That's your prerogative. You're allowed to think whatever you want of him. But there is no doubt about the fact that he is the current manager of the White Sox. And however much you believe in what a manager can do for a team, that's fine. I mean, in some respects, I think a catcher is more valuable to a team than a manager because really the talent is there. But there's something about being a good manager, which is to pull that potential out of players and not, they're really just mostly there to keep things going smoothly, right? And to write the lineup every day. But I understand the opinion that, the talent's already there. The White Sox, it's not like he made the Bad News Bears into, the best baseball team in town. I'm just saying, I do think that he deserves some respect since he was when he first came into baseball, he was the youngest manager ever at the time. He's probably in like 3 or 4 different teams' Hall of Fame. He's won at least he's been to the World Series 4 times, and the list goes on and on. Regardless of what you think about his personality, which to me, you can't really justify having an opinion on someone's personality if you've never talked to them. But his stats speak for themselves. The White Sox have a 92% chance of making the playoffs and a 16, well, they're guessing 16% chance of winning the World Series. Now we'll talk about the Padres, who are second on the list, which that would be reasonable to think that the Padres are going to go up against the White Sox, even though I know a lot of people have not given up or written off the Dodgers yet. I get that. They have great pitching, Dodgers, but anyway, Cleveland has a 26% chance of making the playoffs, so the wild card is probably not coming from the AL Central. The AL West, we have a 64.7% chance of the Houston Astros making the playoffs. I would say it's more like 100% chance because, well, Oakland has a 50% chance of making the playoffs at this point. They're still, they actually have more wins than the Astros. The Astros are 27 and 23, and the Athletics are 31 and 22. But their win percentage is not as good, so that's why they have Astros in the lead in the American League West at this point. But anyways, there's a good chance the Athletics and the Astros. I mean, the Angels, they have a 3.6% chance. I'm wearing an Angels shirt today, but they have a 3% chance of making the playoffs. So, like, anyway, we're going to talk about the Angels too and their dismissal of Pujols, who that didn't help them, by the way, which is karma at its best. In the National League, you have a 32%. So the whole National League East is like really up in arms. So 32% chance that the Mets make the playoffs and a 2% chance that they win the World Series. But the Marlins are second on this list with 29% chance of making the playoffs. And then you have the Braves, 28%, and it goes down from there. The NL Central, the Cubbies have the best chance of winning the NL Central at this point, but the Cardinals are right behind them, so don't even write them off. 44% chance for the Cardinals, 51% chance for the Cubbies. The Reds only have an 11.2% chance to get to the playoffs. And the NL West, we have the wonderful Padres, 93% chance of making the playoffs and a 17.9% chance of winning the World Series. I think that's even better than it's better than the White Sox. The Padres, they're doing excellent. The Padres, how fun is this? They're 33-19 right now. They have a 63% win percentage, and they have an 18% chance of winning the World Series. How fun. Dodgers have only 11% chance of winning the World Series and an 85.5% chance of making the playoffs. Once you get into the playoffs, it's a completely new scenario. So this is all just based on, because if you go to Fangraphs, you could do the projections based on what Fangraphs was saying at the beginning of the season, or you can do the projections based on what the stats, what the records are so far, and that's what I like to look at. Absolutely. It has nothing to do with what we thought they would do before the season. The Diamondbacks and the Rockies, they have less than a 1% chance of making the playoffs. But the Giants, they're still right up there. So you have 3 teams in the National League West that are the likely, well, you have 2 wild cards and the Padres. 2 wild cards and each league. I think it's coming out of the West if the San Francisco Giants can continue to win games on a somewhat regular basis, because we'll see. Okay, so the league is hitting. There was a comparison to Dave Kingman. Do you guys remember Dave Kingman? His lifetime batting. So basically he said the MLB is Dave Kingman in 2021. They're hitting, the MLB as a whole is batting 236. Dave Kingman's lifetime average was 237. No. I think it was 236. It's right around there. Dave Kingman batting pretty much the same as MLB. That's why they came up with this. But think about this, though, too. The record for Major League Baseball, the lowest ever batting average over a full season, was in 1968. Actually, yeah, it was in 1968. It was 237, so it's still better than what we have going now, which if we continue on the same road that we're on, it will be the lowest ever in Major League Baseball. 1968, it was 237, so that's what we're working to beat here. In 1968, Louis Tiant and Sam McDowell were the only 2 starting pitchers out of 76 qualifying starting pitchers to strike out 9 batters over, like, on average 9 Ks per 9 innings. So a strikeout per inning pitch. There was only 2. And there were 76 qualified starting pitchers that year. Right now, 39 of 69 qualified starting pitchers are striking out over 9 per 9 innings. That's unbelievable. So there's something to do here with the spin rate. A lot of people talk about the shifting, but I don't think the shift has much to do with striking out. I think that, batters are striking out much, much more than normal. 39 of 69 qualified starting pitchers are throwing more than a strikeout per 9 innings. I mean, JT Brubaker's on the list, Tyler Mahle, Logan Webb. 94 of 143 relief pitchers are striking out 9 per 9. And there's actually 69 relievers that are striking out 10 or more per 9. And 47 relievers that are striking out 11 or more per 9 innings. And there's 34 relievers striking out 12 or more batters per 9 innings, and there are just a shitload of strikeouts this season. 12 teams out of 30 are batting less than 230. Think of that for a second. 12 teams. 5 of those teams were in the American League, and the rest of them, 7, National League. The American League has no excuse for batting 230 because they have a designated hitter, and that guy's only job is to hit the ball. So the fact that there's 5 teams in the American League are not batting 230, that's just unbelievable. The Mariners, they're the worst. They're batting 198 overall as a team. Okay, as a team, they're walking 8.9% of the time. Kingman's career walk rate was 8.2. MLB right now walking 8.9% of the time. Kingman, he struck out on his career 24.4% of the time. MLB is striking out 24.1% of the time right now. So yes, the comparison is valid. MLB is Dave Kingman. The game times right now are going over. So you know how like MLB loves to forget what their goals are because whatever actions they're taking are not getting them closer to their goals, which was to shorten the game, make more action. And what do? Instead of making more action, they change the ball and the games are longer. So whatever they're doing is not working towards what they're looking to do. 307, that's the average game time right now. That's tied with last year for the longest game times ever in baseball. So, just a few years ago, we started talking about how can we shorten the games? Let's start doing this. Let's do that. We were better off when we weren't even talking about it. It was just better off. Even with the Yankees Red Sox games that were always going like 4 hours. But look, the fans love they used to love the rivalry between the Red Sox and the Yankees. And I was a Red Sox fan, which I'm not anymore, but I was. We didn't care how long the game was. We loved it. We would have been there all day, 8-hour game. We would have been fine with it. We love it. It's the best thing ever. So fans aren't really the ones complaining. It's like, oh, we gotta like get the young kids and everybody with the technology nowadays, their attention span is like 4 seconds. So no, baseball is a slow sport. There's benefits to that. Not everybody needs to watch every sport and expect it to be like soccer where it's fast paced and they're always moving. And if you go to get a beer, you come back and like half the game is over. No, you can go get beers. You could take a whiz. You could go outside. You could do whatever you want. You could come back around, talk with your friends. That's the beauty of baseball. Trying to make it shorter is not a good solution, in my opinion. Obviously, that's not my expertise, but baseball is my expertise, though, so I'm kind of there. Anyway, it's taking longer than ever to produce less runs per game than even 2 years ago. We're producing less runs per game. A third of the teams average 4 runs or less per game. Now it's like the games are longer. There's no runs being scored. Like people are complaining all the time. I don't get it. Thank goodness they hired Theo, right? Theo is now behind the scenes. I don't want to even know what it's going to be like after Theo leaves, but his job is to implement rules, new strategies to continue to grow the game of baseball. And everybody says that baseball is a dying sport, but the funny thing is they just keep getting more and more. Like they just posted something on the Twitter feed talking about how there's more people watching baseball than ever in history of baseball. A lot of that has to do with the apps and stuff like that. But people are constantly talking about the game of baseball like, okay, this is the final straw. It's really going to kill the game now. And I just don't ever see that happening. However, they don't have any Memorial Day anything planned right now. But they have all kinds of other things planned, like moving the All-Star game out of Atlanta over something that they have no right being involved in. And I will say this, there is nothing that it's Memorial Weekend. I will say this, we should definitely always remember the people that sacrificed their lives for our freedoms and our America's still the best country in the world, and it always will be, as far as I'm concerned, but it definitely is. And if you don't think it is, then just take a look at what's going on at the borders. Everybody wants to come here. There's something to that, right? That they're willing to risk their lives to come here. The people that serve in the military deserve way more respect than they get from these sports leagues who decided that they'd rather kneel for the national anthem instead of show thanks and appreciation for our military. You don't have to worry about what color you are, what class you're in, like how much money you have. Military is military. There's all colors, all races, all cultures, all languages, everything. This is a weekend we should be celebrating that, and we used to in baseball. In fact, baseball's always had all kinds of events going on where I say we, but where MLB donated to charities, give tickets away to service members and their families, and they are not doing that anymore. I guess they found better things to be doing with their time, but that is devastating to me. I can't even tell you how riled up it makes me to know. And I looked everywhere. I was like looking online. I'm looking everywhere, just hoping that they're going to do something, because at 3:00, everybody stopped what they're doing at 3:00 your time, no matter where it is. If you're Eastern, Pacific, it doesn't matter. 3:00, take a second, say thanks to the people that gave their lives for what we have. And I hope that they do that. At least I hope that MLB has not completely lost their minds. I could go on, but I don't want to get in trouble by Lenny, because he will get mad at me for talking about other things, politics. He calls politics, I call real life. He calls it politics. So anyway, I'll move on. Going back to baseball, just happy Memorial Day, and, let's go on. Okay, so the game time is over 3 hours. It's taking longer to produce less runs. There's more strikeouts. There's less action. Everything that Manfred does is a stupidity to the max. There's been 19 Tommy John surgeries already this year. 19. That's the same number as Tommy John surgeries in all of 2019. And that, again, that was a full season. The fact that we're only a third of the way through the season, it's unbelievable how many Tommy John surgeries. So all of these things considered, you say to yourself, like, what is going on? We kind of know what's going on. The spin rate has doubled since they started keeping track of StatCast data. The spin rate has doubled. And we know that if anybody's been watching Trevor Bauer for a long enough time to know that, before he was really any good, he was in interviews. I've been a big fan of Bauer for a while, but he used to say straight up, and he's been very clear. In fact, I think that I wouldn't be surprised if Bauer is using the sticky substances just so that MLB will actually do something about it. That's the type of person that he is. He won a Cy Young using sticky stuffs. I know that only because, not because he got in trouble, not because he said he did, but because he said that he's been trying to get his spin rate increased for the last 8 or 9 years, and this guy works his ass off in the off season. He is constantly at driveline, throwing the ball, trying to get his spin rate up. And he said, I can guarantee that there is no way to get your spin rate up past a certain point unless you're using sticky substances. So we know that sticky substances has been a thing in baseball since they made sticky substances, right? I mean, batters are not pissed off about that. They really are fine with the fact that they would like a pitcher to have a better grip on the ball. So why, though, batters are saying to themselves, what in the world? First of all, there is not better control or command in baseball. In fact, we're getting hit at a higher rate than ever before, and they're blatantly using sticky substances. So at least it used to be that if we knew the pitcher was using a sticky substance, we weren't going to get our head taken off by a 95-mile-an-hour fastball, or, everybody wants to throw 99 now. Like, these pitchers, it's just as bad. It's like a hitter going out there and all they want to do is swing for the fences. A pitcher goes out to the mound and all he wants to do is throw 100 miles an hour. It's like their goal is to throw the ball 100 miles an hour. That's their ultimate goal. Well, number one, that's why there's 20 Tommy John surgeries already this year. That's why, because your arm is not meant to be throwing that hard on a regular basis. It's just not, you're not built for it. I mean, maybe as we evolve and continue, our bodies continue to evolve, maybe we'll just evolve into somebody that has a better shoulder ligaments and elbow ligaments. But until then, you're bound for Tommy John if you're trying to go out there and throw the ball 100 miles an hour every time. Not only that, but you could take off somebody's head. You could kill somebody. No joke. I mean, there's helmets, but seriously, if it just didn't hit the side of the helmet and it actually hit you, and Bryce Harper got hit in the face, these kids are coming up, and Ryan Zimmerman made this point. I never would have said this had I not heard him say it, but he's like, these youngsters are not ready to pitch in Major League Baseball. They don't even know how to pitch yet because half of them haven't even been to AA or AAA, especially with last year's COVID situation. A lot of minor leaguers didn't pitch at all. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, they should have been pitching at least, even if they're not pitching in games, they should have been pitching, right? Anyway, there's a serious problem with the sticky substances. And you know why it's even more of a serious problem? Major League Baseball, Mr. Rob Manfred and his wonderful ideas decide to put a memo out to all the teams and the public, leaking it to the press. Oh, make sure you talk about this. We're going to be taking balls and we're going to be examining these balls for sticky substances because we're not going to tolerate, any of this anymore. Well, that was just stupid because either you're not doing it or it's true. They've so far they've come up with these reasons why nobody's been punished yet for sticky substances. Well, we need more data. We need more time so that maybe, just maybe in 2022, we'll have enough data to do something about it. Or there's also the thought that maybe they're just building it up and they're watching these pitchers. Hold on. They're watching these pitchers. And so they're just going to build it up until they have enough to really punish them. And then they're going to be throw it out on the table. This is all the things that we've seen you do over the past 6 months. So here's your punishment or whatever. I don't think that's true. I think they were just saying that so that they could sound like they're doing something about it. Everything that they do is counterintuitive, okay? Everything. That's my opinion. I really do. So let's listen to what happened yesterday. Joe West, of course, always in the news, has umpired more games than any umpire, I think. I think that's the record that he broke. So just this year. So we're going to share our screen. I'm going to share with you what Mike Schill is doing. Okay. I'm just going to have to allow ads. Oh, crap. Hold on. Yeah, I want to. Okay. Let me see how it looks. I'm still kind of new at this. Close this. Anyway, Mike Schill, I really like him. I think he's a great manager, and he was sticking up for his players, and we're going to see what he had to say after the game.
Well,
I wanted to go.
I'm sure you're going to have some questions because I've got my fair share.
2 minutes in because this is too much.
Major League Baseball's got a very, very, very tough position here because there are people that are effectively and not even trying to hide, essentially flipping the bird at the league with how they're cheating in this game with concocted substances. There are players that have been monetized for it. There are players that are obviously doing it, going to their glove. There's clear video of it. You can tell the pitchers that are doing it because they don't want to go to their mouth, which Gio does off the rubber. And understandably, and I know comfortably, Major League Baseball is trying their best to do it in a manner that doesn't create any black eye for the integrity of the game that we love. But speaking of integrity, how about the integrity of the guys that are doing it clean? How about the guys that are pitching their tails off in Major League Baseball and doing it clean, that have an unfair competitive advantage for the guys that are clearly loading up with concoctions that they actually advertise, don't do anything to hide, even in plain view? That's the guys I'm speaking for. I'm speaking up for the hitters that have a living to make, facing stuff that's already really, really good. And you can see, based on spin rates, how guys' careers are jumping off the charts. And then you can do cause and effect. Now, I don't want to be, look, is our house 100% clean? I certainly hope so. Am I creating more of an opportunity? Because I just spoke to our pitchers. Am I creating more of awareness to our group? Potentially. But let's go check the guys that are sitting there going to their glove every day with filthy stuff coming out, not some guy before he's even stepped on the mound with a spot on his hat. That's how you want to start policing this? And unfortunately, that's how this is going to start. Now, maybe this is a crescendo for things to come. But can I tell you 100% that all our guys are 100% clean with nothing, other than some sunscreen and some rosin, which the hitters don't mind, by the way, because they want the grip, which is why we don't want the guys getting, hit in various spots with big arms. Hitters don't mind the grip. They don't want the stuff that's making the ball do wiffle ball stuff. And that's the issue at hand here. So you want to police some sunscreen and rosin? Go ahead. Get every single person in this league. Hit by pitches will just continue to go up. Balls will get away. But why don't you start with the guys that are cheating with some stuff that are really impacting the game and impacting how people play this game?
Okay, so I'm unmuting and I'm stopping to share, but I agree with him 100%. But you know whose name comes up immediately when we say that? Well, let's talk about just the guys that are the big guys that are like really affecting the outcome of the game, which would be Trevor Bauer. He's first on everybody's list because either you love him or you hate him. I really don't care. I love him, but I get it. But they've already taken Trevor Bauer's balls out early in the season. They took his balls and they said they were going to go test him out. They said that they were completely sticky. But, last week, The Athletic put out an article where we talked about this earlier, but just the players are just frustrated. And they're saying Real Muto's a big one, like I said, he's constantly coming up. I hear my voice downstairs. Lenny, turn the sound down a little bit. He's always coming up with comments and stuff like that. So he says, it's not just a lot more guys are increasing their spin rates, but it's harder to control. So spin rate does a couple things. It provides late movement on pitches. That's the one thing that we know for sure that we can basically measure spin rate for. So if you see a guy with a really high spin rate, you can say, oh, he's got late movement, okay, on his pitches. We can measure movement on pitches, but we can't measure when the movement is happening. So the fact that spin rate does help with understanding when the movement is happening for a pitcher. Late movement is very good. Obviously, that's a plus, but it also makes the ball harder to control. It really makes the ball harder to hit and harder to control. Like he said, wiffle ball type stuff is happening with this spin rate. That's what it's doing. So Real Muto says that, if it's sunscreen and a little rosin, the hitters are fine with that. We know that for sure, especially in cold weather. But they're really tired of these young pitchers coming up and throwing like 97, 98, 99, 100 miles an hour because that's their card. That's their ticket to the major leagues is their 100-mile-an-hour velocity. And you got guys out here just throwing as hard as they can. They don't care where the ball goes. Hopefully they get it over the plate enough times that, they get a job. But what do we expect is going to happen when we pay pitchers to throw as hard as possible? And of course, avoid, you're trying to avoid hits. You're trying to keep the runners off the base path. So if that's what you could do by striking out batters, that's what you're going to do. The batting average, we can discuss this, probably will the entire season, because that is, again, strikeouts and walks are something that it stabilizes early in the season, and that's what it is. So MLB's batting average down 9 points this season. Spin rates have spiked in recent years. 8 players are batting under 200 so far this season. As of this morning, 8 hitters, qualified hitters, are batting 200 or less. Josh Donaldson is now involved in the fray, but you won't find it if you go to his Twitter feed. You have to actually look at his tweets and replies, because he was responding to who is the guy that he pitched a no-hitter, Dallas Braden. Donaldson was replying to Dallas Braden when he said it, but here's what he says. He's got a whole bunch of video, he says. He's got video. He's ready to put out this video and show everybody what's going on. An entire catalog of video of these guys cheating. That's what he says, and it's coming out, he says. And then, of course, it's always interesting. This is really the only reason that Twitter is valuable, but you really can't find a lot of input on Twitter when it comes to things like this. That there was images of Shane Bieber, just little animated images that are just a couple seconds long, but you could see Shane Bieber doing it, getting in his glove. You could see Tyler Rogers in San Francisco was one of them that they put up. When you're seeing, and even somebody commented on Bauer doing it, the percentage of times that he goes to his glove, the percentage of times that he touches his hat, and it's obvious. They're just so blatant about it this year that, of course, it's infuriating players. Josh Donaldson, he says he has an entire video catalog of pitchers cheating, and he is about to put it out. So don't say you're going to do it. Just put it out there then. What are you waiting for? You're trying to get famous on this, but you're already famous. So just put it out there. That's how I feel. Twins manager Rocco Baldelli says he's not surprised that more players and coaches are being outspoken about the issue, because he does believe that everybody in the game understands that there is some sticky substance being used, and everybody is also perfectly fine with it if it's not like this, but it's out of control this year. The thing is, MLB is they're such virtue signalers. It's crazy. Like they have a problem with the logo, the Cleveland Indians logo. They have a problem with Chief Wahoo. Okay, fine. I'm not arguing whether or not you should have a problem. That's not what I'm here for. But I will say this. If you have such a problem with the logo, Chief Wahoo, then why won't you give up the patent for it? Why are you still making money off of it and you won't let anybody else make money off of it? Why? Are you protecting them from somebody else using Chief Wahoo, or like making money on something? God forbid. The MLB refuses to give up the rights to Chief Wahoo. But they'll virtue signal all day long about how they aren't going to sell the Wahoo at games and all this. They're the only ones making money off of that logo, and they will continue to, because they don't want to let it up. So I'm sorry. To me, that tells me you don't really care about that. You do not care as much as you say you do, because it all comes down to money. That's what it's all about. They say they care about the sticky substances, but they don't care enough to do anything about it. Just say they're going to do something about it so they could keep the people down, like calm, right? Well, we're not going to blame MLB because they're at least trying to do something about it, right? Wrong. They don't care if you cheat. They do not care. Houston Astros, every team in baseball was cheating. I'm sorry, they were. Even your favorite team was cheating when the Astros were cheating. They're still cheating. As much as they can get away with it, that's what they're doing. Do you blame them? No. just don't act like you care that much about it unless you're going to do something about it. They put out this memo, we care about the sticky substances. But in the meantime, while we're figuring out what to do with the sticky substances, we're actually in the lab creating our own sticky substance so that we can make baseball use ours. And then we'll make money off of it. More money. MLB is the worst. They do not care about their fans, or they do not care about their players more so than their fans. That was proven when COVID happened, when they refused to pay the minor leaguers who would cost each team like $1 million total to support the minor leaguers. Nothing. Players were paying for the minor league salaries. Players. Then finally teams said, okay, well, if you're going to make us look bad, then we'll take care of the minor leaguers. Only because we have to, though, not because we thought it was the right thing to do. I mean, it's the commissioner of baseball works for the ownership. That's who these two are on the same team. The commissioner is basically just the spokesman for the owners. The owners are rich because they're smart with money. I don't know, but they have an interest, fine, but their interest is not in being considerate, social justice, all the stuff that they like to talk about. They're not. It's a lie. Actions speak louder than words. Remember that? Okay, let's talk about some waiver wire pickups. Should we start with Rob Refsnyder, Minnesota outfielder, who is a 30-year-old failed prospect, but he's back and he's having a good season. And they said it's always good to hear that when a player is doing well, they actually did do some changes to their mechanics. He is one such player. Minnesota picked him up off the trash heap. He's playing because Byron Buxton was out, and so they put him in there, give him a chance. I think they found him free, whatever it is. He's career 231 batter. And in 6 seasons in MLB, he has a total of 6 home runs and 30 RBIs in 6 seasons. Okay, so there you go with the stats. But he made some mechanical changes, and he's hitting like crazy right now. So this guy's only owned in like 2% of leagues. So I should have probably started with whatever. We're starting with the least percentage owned, and we're going up from there. He's batting .400 with 2 home runs, 8 runs scored, and 7 RBIs with a .462 batting average on balls in play. So that's a little scary. But his batting average, his expected batting average is actually .333. And he's on a roll right now. Here's the other thing about him. He can play second base, third base, left field, center field, and right field. If you hit, the teams will find a way to get you into the batting order. That's how it is. You should never be like, oh, there's no place for him when Byron Buxton comes back or any of that. If he's hitting, he will get in the lineup. That's the bottom line. There's no exceptions to that rule. Once they get a chance, usually, unless you're dealing with, no, it's true all the time. If you're hitting well, you will get in the lineup. Your manager will find a spot for you. Especially if you can play second, third, left, center, and right. That makes you a commodity for sure. The other guy that's 10% or less owned is John Birdie. And Lenny always says, John Birdie, Andrea's guy. No, my guy this year is Joey Wendell. But I admit, I'm a fan of John Birdie, and he was horrible at the beginning of the season. And when you had to pay a little bit for him this year because he was good last year. I believe, he's not young, he's not a kid, but plays everywhere. And he was Joey Wendell last year. Joey Wendell is this year's John Birdie. Last year, anyway, John Birdie does play second, third, and outfield, so he qualifies at all 3 of those spots coming into the season, but he has been horrible. Like, he didn't even steal a base for, 50 games into the season? He didn't even steal a base for at least, well, put it this way. In the last 9 games, he stole 3 bases. He only has 4 on the season. So all this is happening now. He's waking up. Okay. He's getting up. He's doing his thing, but his batting average on the season is 176, below the Mendoza line. 2 home runs, 10 RBIs, 16 runs, and 4 stolen bases. But the reason that he's on my list this week is because I guarantee he's available in most leagues. He's already played second base, third base, shortstop, and outfield. He's only played shortstop once. That's why he doesn't qualify there yet. But if he continues to hit, he will get in the lineup wherever somebody needs a day off. Like I said, in the last 9 days, he has 3 out of his 4 stolen bases for the season. So he's starting to run. Just saying. If he's out there and you're in a league that's deep, there you go. Juan Lagares, I know. He's Juan Lagares. But here is what, first, I mean, there's so much to say about this. He's playing center field for LA. He's been in the last 7 games, he's been in all the games. 7 of the last 7. He was moved up in the batting order just a few days ago, maybe 4 or 5 days ago. Anyway, he bats 4th against left-handed pitcher, 5th against right-handed pitcher. So, yes, he's not going to get you home runs. He's not going to get you stolen bases, but he is going to get on base, and he's going to have a good average, and he's going to score runs, and he's going to get RBIs just because of the fact of where he hits in the lineup. In the last 9 games, he's batting .333, 4 RBIs, 7 runs, no home runs, no stolen bases. That's why it's so easy to overlook this guy. Plus, he's like 32 years old or something. He's not young at all. I mean, he's not going to get power or speed, but he's going to get on base. He hits in a great spot in the lineup. He is basically who they replaced. Well, Trout is out. So as long as Mike Trout is out, Juan Lagares is going to get spot to hit. However, you do know that, I mean, not so much Brandon Marsh because he's been hurt. He's not having a good season in the minors, but Joey Dell he's been lighting it up in the minor leagues so far. So don't be surprised. They've already brought him up one time. He wasn't very good, so they sent him away, but he is knocking on the door. Juan Lagares is a temporary fill-in, but just the fact that where he hits in the lineup is good and worth considering. If you need like a body that's alive and gets at bats, that's a good one. Another guy that's very low ownership, okay, another outfielder in Los Angeles, Taylor Ward, batting 7th on average. He's the opposite. He's got decent counting stats. He bats .222. In the last 5 games, Taylor Ward is batting .222, 6 RBIs, 2 runs, and a home run. This guy has not been that great at the major league level, but in 2019, okay, at AAA, Taylor Ward batted .306 with 27 home runs, 102 RBIs, 11 stolen bases, and that was at AAA in 2019. So will that translate? I don't know. Is he really going to stick around for long? Probably not. There's other, like I said, Joey Dell is knocking on the door, but he's only owned in 10% of the leagues. He's batting 7th. He has a bad batting average, but good, decent counting stats. That's all. Pavin Smith, Arizona first baseman. So this guy, though, Pavin Smith, has played 28 games in the outfield and 28 games at first base, so he qualifies at both. He went 2 for 3 yesterday with a double, a triple, and 2 walks, even though they lost to St. Louis. He had his 4th consecutive multi-hit game and now has an 8-game hitting streak. He's 13 for 32 with 5 extra base hits and 5 RBIs in the last 8 games. And so he was filling in the outfield until Josh Reddick and Kettle Marte came back. Now he's filling in at first base. Christian Walker is probably going to be activated today. If he's not today, it's going to be like in the next day or 2. So my suggestion is it doesn't matter because this Pavin cat is going to get more bats as long as he keeps hitting. That's what I'm telling you. He's batting .277 on the season, 4 home runs, 19 extra base hits, 26 runs, and 18 RBIs. That's what he's done, just filling in around the horn, whatever, filling in. So I don't care if Christian Walker is coming back, and I don't care if Josh Reddick or Kettle Marte is coming back. I mean, you have to think that he's at least, I don't know about defensively. I mean, I know that the only useful thing about Josh Reddick is really his defense at this point, and that's got to be waning at this point. I don't know. Just if he hits, he'll get in the lineup. So, Christian Walker, I can't wait for him to come back. Thank goodness for him coming back. Oblique problems. But yesterday he went 2 for 5 with a home run, hit a home run 2 days in a row down in the minors in his rehab. He's on his way back. I pray today, okay? I already have him active and my teams are so bad without most of my players. Okay, another guy, Brad Miller. I know, Brad Miller, just hear me out for a second. He is probably going to have the worst batting average in town. But as of lately, in the last 6 games, Brad Miller is batting .333 with .391 on base percentage. He has 5 RBIs, 2 home runs, and 6 runs scored. He even stole a base. He's old, Brad Miller. You know what you're getting, a horrible batting average. So I don't know. I'd like to see what his batting average on balls in play is, but I don't have it in front of me. All I know is that he's played first base 8 times, second base 6 times, third base 5 times, and he's played in the outfield 10 times just this season. He's crushing lefties, which if you know his splits from before, like over his career, it's usually not the case, but he is crushing lefties. In fact, 3 of his 5 home runs on the season are off of left-handed pitchers. And he is batting second or third versus right-handed pitching, and he's batting 7th against lefties. So batting second in the lineup, second or third in the lineup. That is a great place to bat. And that will give you fantasy worthiness just because that if you continue to hit at that spot in the lineup. Anyway, it's batting 7th against lefties, but he's hitting them well. So I don't know why. I would assume that as he continues to hit lefties well, if he does, then he'll get moved up. But for now, he's batting second against righties or third, batting second or third, and 7th against lefties. Anyway, we all know he's capable of hitting home runs. He strikes out a ton. Don't expect his oh wait, I think I have his batting average on balls in play. Hold on. Batting average on balls in play is 407. Don't expect it, his batting average is going to go down. His contact rate is no good. He makes contact 67% of the time. He strikes out almost 30% of the time. He does take a walk, so it makes it a little bit better, but just expect a batting average under Mendoza line. Hopefully he'll hit 25 homers, though, because he's done that before. Who else do we have on the list? Freddie Galvis. I don't even know why Freddie Galvis is on this list again. 30% owned still. What are you kidding me? 30% of leagues he's owned in. The rest of them he's available. So I would advise to just go get him. He's like, maybe there's just too many shortstops. Brandon Crawford's another one I always am constantly seeing on the availability. And I don't know. Look, Freddie Galvis. He qualifies at second and shortstop, even though he's only played shortstop this year. He still qualifies at second. He's batting .253 with 7 home runs, 18 RBIs, 22 runs, and a stolen base. In the last 9 games, he has 3 homers, 5 RBIs, 6 runs, batting .243. We don't care about that because he makes up for it in other ways. Batting .314 on the season. Wait. 3 of his 7 home runs this season have come in the last 9 games. His on-base percentage is, over the last 9 games, it's horrific. So there's that. It's .282. But on the season, it's .315, which is, I know, it's still not good, but it's a lot better than .282 on-base percentage. So I would advise, perhaps, it's not such a great score in on-base percentage leagues. Maybe you want to try somebody like Brandon Crawford instead of Freddie Galvis. But all I'm saying, he's hot right now. I would go get him. Every day, Baltimore, he's playing every day. Bats near the top of the order. He bats second lately, but occasionally he will bat fifth, and I didn't notice any kind of pattern against lefties or righties, but he mostly bats second in the lineup. We're almost done. Yay. Alec Manoa. We all know. You should have picked him up already. I told you this. I don't even promote rookies or prospects very often, but I did see him in spring. He was excellent. He's already probably snatched up unless you only get to pick up players once a week. And he should be the number one guy on your list. And don't come back at me if he falters, Matt Hooper, but he could because he's a youngster and that's what youngsters do. But he's pitching for Toronto. I really believe that Toronto is going to win the American League East. I really do. Davey Garcia is back with the Yankees. Now, don't get all crazy with Davey Garcia just because he's a Yankee. Last year, he had a 4.98 ERA in 34 innings pitched, 6 games started. He struck out 33 in 34 innings, so that's good. But I'm just saying, we don't know really what his role is going to be going forward. Could he be a bullpen guy that comes in after, they've got a lot of problems. They're deep with pitching, but their pitchers are not sturdy. So whether or not Jameson Taillon is going to continue, what's he going to be able to do? Corey Kluber is now on the injured list. So obviously Davey Garcia is going to get innings. However, I wouldn't spend all your money on this guy just because of his name and because he's a Yankees pitcher. He's the 5th starter on the depth chart as we speak. We'll see what happens when Kluber comes back. Severino is going to come back. I haven't heard any info on Severino, but I will keep you updated. Anyways, he gets to pitch against Detroit. Is that today? It might be today, or maybe it's Monday. Whatever it is, he gets to pitch against Detroit. It might be today. Anyways, Corey Kluber expected to be away for a while, extended absence. We'll see what happens with that, but he wasn't doing well at AAA either. Davey Garcia at AAA so far this season, he had a 5.17 ERA, a 164 whip. He struck out 21 and walked 12 in 15 2/3. But, he did okay last time he was in the majors, so we'll try to go with that. However, be careful. Use my caution as a word of advice. James Caprielian, whatever it is, Oakland pitcher. Luzardo's out right now. This guy's been pitching pretty good. In fact, he's been very good. He's probably already snatched up unless you can only grab pitchers once a week. But here's the thing. Wednesday was his best outing so far. He's made 3 starts, and he's pitched at least 5 innings in all 3 starts. In fact, on Wednesday, he went 7 innings. He might pitch today or tomorrow, but he's 27 years old. He's right, he was up some last year. He pitched only 3 innings in the majors. That was his career in the major league so far. And now he is 17 innings in, all 3 starts, at least 5 innings. Each time he goes out there, he pitches a little bit more innings. So that's a good sign. His ERA is literally like 1.5 or something. It's so low. And there's no reason why, I would put him above Alec Manoa. I would put him above any of the pitchers because he's already shown that he can last innings, which is a commodity nowadays. And Oakland is good at bringing up pitching. We like Oakland pitching. Although AJ Puck, I guarantee, tomorrow's our show on Sirius, and I will make a joke about this because I will be reading the recaps of the games from today, and I always talk about I always talk about a couple things. I always talk about who's coming up today, who's going to be pitching today, and I say the injury updates. AJ Puck is on there every weekend. AJ Puck has been throwing bullpens and throwing rehab starts and doing sim games and all of this every week since the year started. That's what he does, but he never comes back. It's become a joke now between me and Lenny. So if you listen to our show and you hear me talking about AJ Puck and you hear Lenny bringing up, hey, guess what AJ Puck is doing? He's still doing rehabs and throwing side sessions and stuff. So that's it, though, you guys. I'm pretty much done with. I have a lot more notes, but I've been just yapping. I've been just yapping since 1:30. Over an hour. Who's going to be better than Manoa? I think it would be better if you have a choice. I think that you should grab Caprielian from Oakland. James is his name. James K. We'll call him James K. Oakland starting pitcher. Matt Hooper, though, your league is odd. I know you probably have a lot more players available than the normal guy does because, Taijuan Walker is back. He came back. Puck has professed to water skiing. That's so funny. Malpal's nephew played against Tyler Nevin. Yes, we're all getting old. It's horrible feeling. Okay, number one, I do not agree that they will trade Mancini. Malpal says that he could see the Orioles trading Mancini. Who would be their veteran presence? Like, who would be the fan? Mancini is a fan favorite at this point. With what he went through last year, I mean, everybody. What would make the Orioles feel good if he went somewhere else? What would make the fans feel good? I mean, right now they have bars in Baltimore that are basically, well, Chris Davis isn't playing anymore with the C, but he is still getting paid. And so the bars around the ballpark, they would say, if Chris Davis gets a hit, then we will give out free shots, and everybody would cheers, and like even a hit. Before that, it was if Chris Davis hits a home run, then we give out free shots. Then it became if he just gets a hit, we'll give out free shots. And Baltimore just doesn't have a lot. Like, what's going to bring the fans to the ballpark? If Ed Heckman, he's a Baltimore fan. Are you still here, Eddie Heckman? I think he's Baltimore. Or maybe I think it is. Anyway, I like the food there, of course. So, do they still give free shot? Well, look, Chris Davis is not playing anymore, but I don't think they're giving up Mancini. I just don't. He's not for sale. And I don't say that about very many players, but Mancini is special. He is definitely, I think he puts fans in the seats for sure. Like, Matt Hooper is here too, a big Pittsburgh fan, goes to Pittsburgh Pirates a lot. Best park in baseball for sure. The fans are super. They accept the fact the Pirates are not that good. They have they seem happy that it's very affordable to go there. The sidewalks, they look like they're swept, literally swept. What a beautiful ballpark. But the Pirates, what are they going to do to continue getting fans in the seats if they, but they do. They trade away. They always trade away their best player. So the O's don't care. Eddie Heckman says the O's don't care, but that's probably true. It's in my own mind. I just feel like if I were in charge of the Orioles, I would never give up Mancini. He is way too good. I just think he's okay. Matt Hooper, he loves Alec Manoa. The funny thing about him is that he's like every other youngster that comes up and has one good game, and he's worth more now in a trade than he ever will be in his entire career moving forward. That's my opinion. And I've been right about that multiple times. Now, I wasn't right about Vladdy, and I wasn't right about Fernando Tatis, because both of them are the exception to the rule. But when you talk about a guy and you say, like, oh, he's a generational player, and yes, Alec Manoa is the best rookie around right now, right? Because he's the only rookie around right now that pitched well. And so you go on to him. He's had a great start. Sell him. Trade him. You will trade him away for a guy like, I bet you could get George Springer for him. I bet you. I think you could get, who's another comparison? You could probably get Mancini for him. You could get Mancini for Manoa. I don't know. I'm kind of exaggerating a little bit, but I believe that Alec Manoa's trade value is probably higher right now than it ever will be in his career. Yeah, I mean, Eddie Heckman brings up the fact that he loves Trey Mancini. He would love to see the Orioles keep him for the next 10 years. He would love to see this happen, but Orioles can join the rest of the teams like the Oakland A's, and Oakland is the first one that comes to my mind, or like the Cleveland Indians, who never spend a lot of money. So when it comes time for these players to actually get paid, you just accept as a fan that they're probably not going to, continue. They're not going to sign the contract when there's other teams that are willing to spend a lot more money on these players. So, look, Machado, and that's what happens. That's so disappointing for fans, because even if you do win a little bit, like even if you win with these players on your team, you know that they're not going to stay. So you very rarely ever have the face of the team, like, you know, a Bryce Harper, a Mike Trout. Even if Mancini continues to hit the way he's going to hit, he's going to get paid a lot of money. And you're right, he won't stay. He's not going to stay in Baltimore. I mean, some teams have learned how to win like that. Tampa Bay is one that continues to win, even though they don't spend any money. They don't have a lot of money, but I think that's a lie. I think any team has money. If they wanted to spend it, they could. But is Phil there? At my house? No, he's not here. Lenny's here, though. Do you want to say hi to Lenny? All right, I'm out, you guys. Have a great day. Thank you so much, Eddie, for coming. It's beautiful. Jamie Gates, nice to see you. And Malpel, of course. Matt Hooper, yay, regulars. Tomorrow is Douglas. He will be on at noon. You can listen to Sirius from 7 to 10. And, of course, Lenny likes to call in. But at noon is Douglas here at the network, LennyMelnickFantasySports.com/live, or you could watch on Facebook or YouTube or wherever you want to watch Douglas. Noon. We talk baseball. Sundays is like the greatest day to talk with other people about who should we pick up and who should we drop, and that's what we do. The chat room is always open. 6:30 is George Hubschman. He's got a fun show. It's very unique and always informative. And then Lenny will be on Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Friday. Everybody have an excellent weekend. Happy Memorial Day. Thank you to those who gave their lives for our freedoms and for my freedom to be mouthy bitch and whatever. See you later, you guys.